We have all been in this scenario, sitting around contemplating life itself because you've picked up another running injury.
And you've accepted that maybe it's time to start playing golf.
Oh no, it's not over yet. Put those golf clubs back in the shed. Because in this video, I'm gonna take you through exactly how to not get injured running so that you can live to fight another day.
Now, it's safe to say that I've had my fair share of injuries and niggles, and it's probably a rite of passage for most runners to sit on the sidelines once in a while. And my years of work as a physiotherapist has taught me one thing, that 100% of elite runners get injured at some point in their career. And also 100% of non-elite runners also get injured. But there are 5 ways that you can put off this injury for as long as possible. And number 5, I recently discovered because it finally got me. More on that later. So here's where we start with this. Let me explain.
We've all seen these crazy 100-mile weeks and crazy workout routines. Double runs, double thresholds, all the good stuff.
But what sets elite athletes apart from casuals like myself, and what allows them to not get injured all the time, like myself, is what they're doing in between all of their running. In the book Running with the Kenyans, it was said that these elite African runners were getting upwards of 14 hours of sleep per day, including naps between sessions. Crazy. So why would they be doing this? Well, to get faster and avoid injury, we have to recover from the sessions that we're doing already. Because the tissues in our body are broken down during a session, and it's only the recovery phase where we can rebuild them back up. And yes, I know, obviously we can't just be lying around like the Kenyans. We're too busy working and doom scrolling on our phones for 5 hours a day. I get it. But here's my 5-stage recovery routine that I use to hack my recovery and reduce my likelihood of getting injured. Now, phase 1 of recovery, of course, is sleep. Now, you might not have time to have naps during the day, and that's totally fine. But at night, we want to aim for at least 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. And to get good quality sleep, we need 3 things. 1, consistent bedtimes. 2, a good environment to sleep in. And 3, no technology right before bed. An eye mask like this also helps by shutting out more light and helping you get into deep sleep quicker.
Now, phase 2 and 3 are foam rolling and self-massage. This can help to flush out waste products from our muscles, which can improve the soreness that often slows us down during our training.
Now, phase 4 is hot and cold modalities like this ice pack, but it could also be a sauna or an ice bath. And once again, this can be a great way to flush out the waste products after a hard workout. So here's what I normally do. I normally cycle between hot and cold modalities, and here's why. The cold modalities actually constrict the blood vessels, and the hot modality actually dilates the blood vessels. So what you get is this really nice pumping action through the muscles, which helps to clear metabolic waste products and also promote new blood flow into that area. Science. Phase 5 is hydration. Any loss in blood volume during a workout can cause massive deficits in your performance and recovery. Have you ever wondered how on a Monday you have such a bad headache? It's probably because you didn't hydrate during and after your long run on the Sunday, and now you're dealing with the consequences. But let me know in the comments below what your recovery routine is. I'd love to hear it. And if you just completely wing it each week, let me know too. Now, here's a scenario for you that may hit home pretty hard. You pick up a niggle and then you continue running on that niggle, and then 6 weeks later, you're completely stuffed and you can barely even walk. And then you realize it's time to take some time off. This next thing is all about stopping running completely and knowing when it's time to have some time off and live to fight another day. And if we look at elite marathon runners, they take a week to 2 weeks off after each race to make sure that they're completely recovered and have no issues going into their next training cycle. Because elite athletes know that it's better to be proactive rather than reactive when it comes to injuries like this. And perhaps this isn't always possible. So when should you stop running if you want to avoid injury during a workout? Well, I usually use my 30-second rule. Here's how it works.
If you have a bit of a niggle that feels worse than just general soreness, if it doesn't resolve within 30 seconds of starting your run, then it's likely that whatever you had planned isn't worth going through and taking that risk of potentially developing something much worse. So from here, you have 2 options. Option 1 is to continue on and put yourself at risk of injury. Option 2 is that you take a complete rest day.
And this can be very hard. I know all too well, but there's one thing that I remind myself in my head when this situation occurs.
What is more important to me, running this workout or running in my goal race?
Take a rest day, it probably won't kill you. And while you're resting from this potential injury, it's time to implement this next tip.
Cross-training.
Cross-training, I know, it sucks, but it can be more beneficial than you think. And it can help you to resolve your issues, stay fit, and kick ass in the future. Here's how. It's quite often that the constant pounding and the impact that comes from running can cause muscular injuries. And so doing some cross training to take that impact away for a short period allows you to maintain your fitness and also get recovered from your injuries. So as long as you're cross training and doing my 5-phase recovery plan, you're probably gonna get better. And who knows, you might even start to enjoy your Sunday long ride. So here's an interesting scenario for you. If you were to only rest for 2 weeks, you would see a 6 to 8% loss in your VO2 max, which is not fun, which would probably take 3 to 4 weeks to regain after, which sucks. And before you click off this video in anger, if you were to just cross train for 2 weeks, trying to mimic the same running workouts on the bike, you would be able to maintain that VO2 max. And then when you get back to full health, you will only be trying to regain the running efficiency and economy and muscular adaptations that come from solely running, instead of VO2 max and all of that stuff too. So rather than having 2 issues to resolve after your injury, you only have 1, which is great. So there, I've convinced you why cross training is beneficial. 2 weeks of cross training is not gonna hurt you. And no, you don't have to wear Lycra, it's okay. Now, all this training and recovery stuff is awesome, but this next thing on my list is something that really leads to chronic re-injury rates. Now, there's one thing that elite athletes take very seriously, and it's what's allowing them to train hard consistently over time without getting injured. Fueling. Here's why it's important. If you aren't eating enough to support the workload that you're placing on your body, not only will you not get any training adaptation, but you will also start to rapidly break down your body. Here's an example for you. So you've heard of shin splints, right? A pretty common issue, and one that most people don't take seriously at all. Well, what if I were to tell you that it's actually a condition relating to overtraining and underfueling? A lack of fuel causes certain hormonal changes in your body, and combined with the bone load during running, this can cause a reduction in bone density at the attachment site of your tibialis posterior. So that pain you're feeling when you have shin splints, that's bone stress. And if you were to get x-rays in the area, you would actually see that the density of the bone in that spot where you're getting the pain is reduced compared to everywhere else in the tibia. Not good. And this is just one example of what happens when you overtrain and underfuel in your body. So let's break this down. Are you fueling during your workouts? I aim for 60 to 80 grams of carbohydrates per hour during my workout to ensure that I'm not getting too fatigued that my form starts to break down, and I load my body in a different way as a result. But just as importantly, I try to eat a lot of food outside of my running times to make sure that I'm fueling my body properly. Because most other conditions in your body related to chronic stress over time results from not eating enough food and training way too much. But I'm not a nutritionist, and I'm not gonna give you a very specific nutrition plan, but I'll give you the general idea of what I would do to mitigate any issues that might arise from not fueling enough. Number 1, have a banana and stop eating garbage. I'd also recommend one more thing, and that is getting regular blood tests. A regular blood test can tell you if you are eating enough and not training too much. Low vitamin D, low testosterone in men, low estrogen in females, and low iron or ferritin levels is usually a pretty good indicator that perhaps you're overtraining or underfueling. So I'd suggest that if you're training really hard for a race or something, you should be getting regular blood tests to make sure that you're not going over that edge of no return. Now, we can improve our recovery and nail our nutrition, and we can also start to implement cross training so that we don't start to get into that danger zone. But this next thing could get you injured just like that, because it got me injured last week. I'm dumb, I know. I should know better, but I wanted to give these thrashed shoes, and also one of my all-time favorites, just one last go on a long run, just for old time's sake. And of course, I pick up an injury. After just one long run, my heel started to get really, really sore. And then the next day, it was fully inflamed and puffed up and not good. And since I've had a really good base building block for the last 10 to 12 weeks, and I've still got 3 weeks until my marathon training, I thought, you know what? Let's have a big rest. Let's not risk anything, and let's get ready for this training block. But here's how you guys can avoid making that same issue yourself. Rule number 1, keep track of all your shoes and throw them away after 500 or 600 kilometers. I have a terrible habit of keeping all of my running shoes, and I bet some of you do too. Let me know in the comments. But if I'm gonna pull them out randomly out of nowhere, it's probably not worth keeping them anymore. Rule number 2, get shoes that fit your foot and your running style. Now, if you have a wider foot, for example, get shoes that still allow your feet to fully splay out and come back like they would for a narrow person in narrow shoes. This is very important. But you also need to understand what kind of runner that you are. For example, if you heel strike, you're probably gonna need more protection for that heel compared to myself, who's a forefoot runner. I'm not gonna need as much heel protection, so that's gonna change the types of shoes that I wear. And rule number 3, have many different shoes that you can use throughout the week. If you wear the same shoes all week long, it's like a repetitive stress on your body that you can mitigate by just having a couple of pairs of shoes that you know that work for you. And data actually suggests that getting lots of different pairs of shoes and cycling through them each week actually improves you as a runner because your foot gets stronger, because it has to adapt to the stimuli that you're actually placing upon it when you put on different pairs of shoes each day. And rule number 4, don't wear the same shoes for daily life that you wear during running. If you wear shoes that have a big heel and a drop all week long, then it's likely that your body's gonna actually adapt to that. And maybe your Achilles is not gonna enjoy stretching out when you start running. So here's what I do. I wear minimalistic shoes all week, like these Ultras, and it means that my Achilles gets stretched out each day of the week. And then when I get in my running shoes, that's a bit of variety, and your body likes variety. Now, some of you are probably thinking, where's the strength training? Why haven't you included any strength training? Well, I've already made an entire video that you can click on right now and watch. So I'll see you over there, and I'm gonna go cross train. Peace.